right, good day to you. As I said in the previous video, I am going to talk about this TV series, Superman and Lois. So you may well know that um, that the Superman movie is coming out in July, and last week there was a new trailer that came out that was really really good. I think the movie is looking really good, and to some degree, it kind of feels like the story, the Superman that the Man of Steel movie felt like it was trying to set up for us. Because Man of Steel, it's like he's struggling to find his identity, but you watch the trailer for Superman, which was originally was going to be called Superman Legacy, um, but it kind of comes off as upbeat, hopeful, and that's kind of where I felt like Zack Snyder's Man of Steel film was leading us, but it never got to. And I don't think that's because it got canceled. It should have gotten there. In the second Superman movie, but we never really got there. But anyways, because Superman is coming out this summer, I've been kind of in a Superman vibe, and so I've been kind of watching I watched Lois and Clark, New Adventures of Superman. I watched them back in back in January, something like that. I've watched Superman the animated series. I've rewatched some of the other straight to DVD animated films. Probably in a couple weeks, I'm going to start watching the Christopher Reeves and Zack Snyder movies. I don't think I'm going to watch Brandon Routh one. That one is I kind of look at that one similar to Thor 2, in that it's Thor Dark World, in that it's not a bad movie. It's just not very good either. It just forgettable, really. But so I'm not going to watch those, but I'll watch the Christopher Reeves one, fully realizing that two of the Christopher Reeves movies are really horrible, as well as the Zack Snyder ones, and then hopefully get ready for have myself mentally ready for the new Superman movie. I'm also going to read some of the graphic novels and comics, getting my mind ready. I'm really excited to see what James Gunn puts on screen. I'm always up for a good Superman. I'm up for a good superhero movie, period. Especially Superman, who is like the guy that kind of got the game going when it comes to superheroes. So it's with that in mind, I want to talk about the series Superman and Lois, because it came out. So as you can see right there, it was released in 2021, and I've been watching, and I watched the first season when it came out, but I got behind and I missed the other seasons, and finally now I'm getting around to watching them, and it is kind of connected to, like it says right here, the Greg Berlanti productions. He also produced like Arrow, Flash, Batwoman, Legends. Was it Legends of Tomorrow, I think? Right? I don't know. But anyways, a number of these different TV shows that were on CW. And so Superman and Lois kind of was the end of the CW superhero shows. And honestly, I think it was the best. It's up to this point, I've not made it through all the seasons. I'm in season 3 right now, and I have not. Unlike the other stuff that Berlanti did, I haven't had a let up yet. I haven't had a point where it really let me down, and so I'm really impressed so far. I think, in my opinion, I'm loving Elizabeth. I can't pronounce her last name. But basically, I like the actress for Lois Lane and Tyler, again, Hoechlin, maybe, who played Clark Kent. I mean, like I said, I like the cast. I like the story they're presenting. And the thing that I find really interesting is it's got the Superman elements. It's got the action. It's got him flying, him dealing with aliens and all these outlandish realities. But at the same time, the show was so grounded. And understand, I know the CW shows have always had that to some degree, but I mean, this one, I mean, it gets grounded. I mean, in season one, you're dealing with, I mean, the kids are wrestling with what it must be, what it would be like, what it's like to have your father as Superman. I mean, we're talking a guy who pretty much has the weight of the world upon his shoulders, and you know him being called away at any moment to go save people, literally on the other side of the planet, and no one knowing that he is the police, that he is Superman, and so things happen to Superman, and they know these things happen to him, but they can't tell anybody. They have to make up some story to explain it away. I mean, I like how they kind of dig into the difficulty that it'd be like that, because that's the plot. So I forgot, I should probably bring that up. The whole plot is it's Superman and Lois Lane. They're married, or Clark Kent and Lois Lane. They're now married, and they have two teenage sons. They're 15 years old, right? At the start of the series, they're in Metropolis, and when they go to his mother's funeral, one of their sons, Jordan, ends up just demonstrating that he has some super abilities. And it's on account of this that they decide to go and move and live in Smallville. And that's where the story mostly takes place, is in Smallville. And so, like I said, so as they're dealing with the fact that their dad is Superman, I really like how they're dealing with that struggle. It kind of is a little bit reminiscent, obviously not to that extreme of a level, but it's a little bit reminiscent of kids dealing with living with parents who are firefighters, first responders, police officers, things like that. You don't have that secretive thing like, oh, I can't tell anybody that my dad's a firefighter type thing. But you do have that thing that they could be called at any moment. And sometimes you're afraid that they don't come back. And I like that they play into that story. You have they deal with something, I mean, and sometimes the story is really real. I mean, one of the episodes, they're digging into the trauma of a miscarriage. I mean, and you feel it. I'm gonna again. I apologize. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I'm gonna open up another window. But Elizabeth Tulloch. I mean, she's really good at the crying and the emotion and getting you to like connect to her. She's really, really good at it throughout the entire series. Like you feel it. But she is this, when she talks about this miscarriage, like you feel it. That pain, that sorrow that she's wrestling with. And I mean, it's the whole thing. It's like she's blaming herself. She's like, it's my fault. She's saying, what was wrong with me that this child didn't make it? I mean, it's emotional. And then in season 3, then you're dealing with cancer. And it's like, man, this is real. And I mean, yeah, it's still Superman. It's still got the Superman type stories. I mean, it doesn't like hold back. I mean, I can't help but think about Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. The Lois Clark and New Adventures of Superman kind of did the same thing, where they had the grounded relationship between Lois and Clark, but you still had some of the super stuff, but this is doing better at it. It did so much better, because you had those superhero elements. I mean, it's got multiverses. I mean, it is really, really digging in. Part of it is because it's got the technology to do that, and we are in a world where people are more embracing of the superhero world, much due to the success of Marvel Comics and like The Dark Knight and some of these other movies and TV shows. And so people are willing to watch this and accept this. But man, it is so grounded. It's a very, very good show. I kind of like, but the other thing, the one thing, my gripe with this TV show, is that it doesn't quite seem to get small town living. So I've been a pastor, for I'm coming up on 12 years as a pastor. And right now I'm in the larger of the towns that I've served. The town I'm in is about 2,000 people. That's the big town that I've served in. So that tells you I've pretty much been in smaller communities. And so I didn't grow up in a small community. I grew up in a suburb. So I very much have that suburb of Des Moines. So I had that experience, but here it's a very different. It's a bit of a different world. And so I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but I've gotten to know pretty well. And so that's why there's certain things in the show that just bug me a little bit. And it's almost like I can't help keep watching and think like, did they not have a consultant? Do they not have somebody on this staff amongst the actors, the cast, somebody that's like, hey, yeah, small towns aren't really like that, right? So I'll give you an example. Lana Lang's husband eventually becomes ex-husband. Eric Valdez, that's the actor. Kyle, sorry, the actor is Eric Valdez, but the actor Kyle, he is a full-time firefighter. That's his job at a fully staffed fire department. And I'm just like, yeah, that doesn't happen in small towns. Those don't exist. Very rarely, unless you have a very wealthy small town. And from the way they portray Smallville, it doesn't seem like it's a wealthy town. And Smallville is being portrayed as a true to form small town. It's one of those towns where everybody knows everybody. It's not as like I said, the firefighters, most firemen or women, and by the way, they do this whole thing about in this show where like make this big deal about how you know how hard it is to be a woman in black, and I'm like to become a firefighter, and I'm like, why? Why are you struggling at that in your town? Because most firefighters in small towns are volunteers. And if somebody is trained and able to do it, they pretty much accept them. And contrary to the way sometimes the show portrays, yeah, skin color is not as important as you think, especially in small towns when there's so few people. So, anyways, I mean, sometimes I'm not gonna say there's not racism. There is, but it tends to take different forms than, hey, we don't want your type around, or we don't want your type, or we question it. So there's that little bit in the show, and I'm like, that was stupid. Like I said, go live in a small town, understand how it works. Another thing was there was a game like in the first season, between a football game between Smallville and Metropolis. Again, that does not happen. Small towns do not face big cities in football because the small town would really, really struggle to win. Now, granted, in this case, one of them happens to be the son of Superman. Two of them happen to be the sons of Superman. So I guess that helps a little bit. But since that's not, they don't know it even from a story standpoint, people don't realize it's Superman's son. They don't put big cities against small towns. Metropolis is kind of portrayed even in that show as being, at least a Kansas City type town. And Kansas City's not going to face a little itty bitty town. And the reason why they tend to be so much better than the small town schools is because it's not because a player from a small town can't be successful. We're home to a guy that went to the Super Bowl this year. Very well, actually, he's next couple towns over, but he was in the Super Bowl this year. Made a pretty big play. So you could definitely succeed, but the problem is when you have a higher, basically simple reality is when you have a higher population, you have more talent to draw from. Therefore, naturally, just by the rule of numbers and odds, you are more likely to have more high caliber talent than a small town's going to have. And therefore, there's going to be a disadvantage. That's why large cities do not face small towns, because it'd be very difficult for the small town to win. Typically, I mean, I'm sure there could be an exception. Like your inner city schools, a lot of times they struggle for other reasons. But I never got the vibe that Metropolis High that they played against was an inner city school. In fact, they kind of give you hints that they might be very wealthy. All right, so again, another issue. There's a whole plot point in one of the seasons about Lana Lang running for mayor, and it's like a heated campaign for mayor, and she's making promises about how she's gonna pay teachers, and I'm just sitting there like, for one, small towns mayor elections are not that heated. In fact, in a lot of small towns, they struggle to have a mayor, period. All right. Secondly, the mayor doesn't have that much power. They don't have control over the salaries of the teachers. I mean, they can make suggestions about, they can lead and guide and stuff like that, but they don't have the kind of power that show was proposing. That's not kind of normal in small towns. I don't know. Maybe it's different in Kansas. I don't know. Maybe Kansas people could come and say, "Oh no, yeah, our mayor has the power over the school districts," but I have a feeling that's not the case. And by the way, Smallville, their high school probably would be a conjoined school district or drawing from a lot of towns in the area if it's their own high school. I mean, again, these are things that they don't quite realize some of the culture. So. But, I mean, the only thing it really, I think, got right was when a person's reputation gets hurt in a small town. It's really hard to escape from it. Small town communities, it's a really interesting thing is when your name is good, when your reputation is good, it's great getting around and visiting people and talking to people. The closeness of the community could be a good thing. But when something happens, then life could be very difficult and quite miserable. So, and they got that with in one of the story arcs. It's like I said, it's a show that, as far as Superman is concerned, as far as the Superman stories, the story of the characters, I think it's really good. And I've heard that season 4 is the best season they did. Ironically, and it's the season that got canceled. But up to this point, I've really, really enjoyed it. And Superman, I think, is a show that there's plot points in here that I'd love to even explore. Even talk about. Oh, you're talking about, again, going into the things I found kind of inaccurate. And it's actually kind of a trend I noticed in television, in TV shows about high schoolers. So Sarah is the character. Sarah Cortez, right? She is the daughter of Lana and Kyle. And when you first are introduced to her, you find, like, in her school setting, she's a cheerleader, which I kind of found weird because she didn't give me the cheerleader vibes. Just saying. But she kind of did it's kind of a cliche thing at this point in TV shows. Is she's like, I'm too cool, I am too hip or cool or whatever for cheerleading. I mean, that's pretty much or like, cheerleading's lame and I'm not a lame person. totally not lame. I don't know why I'm being Donald Trump there, but it's kind of the way it tends to go in a lot of TV shows, movies, or whatever. Um, but the thing is they made it look like cheerleading is uber popular in small towns, and I'm gonna let you in on a secret. It's not. um, both high. I've been in again both all three school districts I've been connected to as a pastor. That I've been, I've gone to a lot of high school events over the last 12 years, and none of them really have huge cheerleading squads. In fact, there's many schools that struggle to pull together a cheerleaders. I know, like here, I mean, they haven't had a basketball cheerleading squad for a few years now. And so it's not as hip of the thing as you kind of portrayed it. Again, this is what happens when you don't know the communities that you're trying to portray. But what I find interesting is if you really wanted to be accurate and you wanted to really get it into the culture that you're portraying, why don't I see so many shows that the girl, I mean, we see it a lot of times with the boys, but why don't we see a lot of TV shows where the girls are athletes? I mean, they're in basketball, volleyball, track, softball, cross country, golf, dance, or all these things, because I'm like, that's what kids are really doing now. I mean, that would be an accurate portrayal of the modern world for teenagers. I mean, it's almost cliched of how insanely busy kids are. And it's like the last show that I watched with high schoolers, granted I don't watch all of them, but the last one I watched where the girls were actually involved in these type of activities was Kelly Kapowski on Saved by the Bell. She played volleyball. And so it's like that's the last thing I could think of. I mean, there's probably something else since then. I'm sure there's shows that other people are watching and maybe that's happening, but otherwise it's like they're not really in activities. It's like she's way too cool for this, but I'm like, it's really not as big of a thing as in the real world. So anyways, it's again, I keep going back to that thing about the portrayal of the small town living. They really don't catch that. But I like the Superman aspects. I like the Lois Lane aspects, and like I said, it does get real in terms of the interpersonal relationships, especially of mom and dad, and dealing with the kids. And honestly, like the Kyle character, I thought I would not like this character. I'd get annoyed by him or whatever. But you can't help but feel sorry for this guy. And at times you're kind of feeling for him. Like he really had a rough situation. And the thing is the show, I mean, like Lana, the character Lana, towards the end of season 2 and into the beginning of season 3, she's starting to really get this attitude, and she's really being kind of harsh with a lot of people. And I mean, there's this when the way she deals with Jordan, when she after she's learned of his abilities and that his dad is Superman, it's like she is really cold-hearted towards him. And I kind of have to give a credit that the last episode I saw, and is it seems like the show is aware of this, that she's getting out of control, that her emotions is leading her to do and act ways that she shouldn't, and she hadn't before. But it also makes sense because she's been living this stressful life for so long, and finally she has power and she's got influence and she's there in the face, and maybe she's struggling to figure out how to deal with that new reality. And so from a character standpoint, I think I like the character development. the things that happen with these various characters, a lot of times that makes sense. And so there you go. I think some point when I get through more of these things, I'm going to talk about. I might do a ranking of like Supermans. Like, who do I think is the best Superman? Who do I think is the best Lois Lane? Who do I think is the best Jonathan Kent, etc., etc. So, hope this is interesting for you. If you're a Superman fan, hopefully this was fun. Have a good day. Blessings. In Jesus' name, amen.